Good afternoon and welcome back to my channel, Ben is Running. If you're completely new around here, I've run a lot of races this year, ranging from 50-kilometre ultra marathons all the way down to mile races on the track. Some have gone really well, others not so great. Today we're talking 5 top tips that you can apply to your race day to hopefully perform at your best and achieve those PBs. So if you do enjoy this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, and maybe share this video with a friend who's got a race coming up. So tip number 1 is to not do anything differently when it comes to the race day itself. So when I wake up on race day, I have the same breakfast that I would usually have all throughout my training block, which is a bowl of porridge, a Serene bar, and maybe a banana, half a banana. When it comes to race days, when it comes to running fast, the last thing you want to be doing is trying something completely different on race day when it comes to your breakfast in the morning before a race. And the same goes for the actual race itself. In one of my races this year, I decided to take a drink after 5k. It was a half marathon. I wouldn't usually drink during a half marathon, but for some reason it was a looped course. I saw a water station and I grabbed a cup which had High Five energy drink in it. I took the drink, and about a kilometre down the road it sort of caused me some issues, and which led to stomach cramps, and then I think about at the halfway point I had to actually stop because the stomach issues were so bad. It may have been caused by this energy drink, it may not have been, it may just be coincidence, but the point is here is not to do anything differently when it comes to the race, and hopefully you won't have any issues with your stomach when it comes to both fueling and drinking water. The same goes for gels. One other example for me this year was a 50-kilometre ultra marathon. I knew I was going to need a lot of energy throughout the race, but for some reason I decided to take one of these little gels before the race had even started, which I never normally would do before any of my runs. And yeah, stomach problems again. So the main thing is don't change anything differently in terms of your fueling, hydration on the day to avoid any issues when it comes to your stomach. So tip number 2 is to write your splits on your hand, and maybe something that's going to motivate you when things get tough. So for me, I like to write all my splits on the hand. Say if it's a 5k race, I'll literally write 1k, 2k, 3k, 4k, 5k, and have the exact time that when my watch beeps, I can look at that and be like, yep, we're on pace. That just helps me with my pacing, and you never know what's going to happen with your watch on the day. I know if you do London Marathon, there's areas on the course where you go through buildings that sort of affect your GPS and stuff like that. So it's always good to have your splits on your hand, so then if your GPS watch fails, you can see the mile markers or kilometre markers on the course, and hopefully it can help pace you when, say, technology goes wrong. The other thing I like to do is write something that motivates me on my wrist. So when I was trying to break 16 minutes for the 5k this year, I wrote sub 16 on my hand, so every time I looked at my watch in the race and things got tough, it said sub 16, and it sort of motivated me to push on. Another thing I've written in the past is arms. For me, I need to work on my arm swing when I'm running. When I get tired, I seem to sort of swing my arms like this, and I know I'm more efficient when I sort of pump my arms. And yeah, I've just found writing splits on my hand and something to motivate me really helps when things get tough, to help find that extra gear and push on. So tip number 3 is to adjust your race pace / goals according to the conditions on the day. So if it's a hot day or a windy day, you want to be adjusting your pace maybe between 10 to 20 seconds per kilometre compared to, say, if the conditions were ideal. The same goes for if the course is hilly. So a recent race I did was the Billericay 10k, which literally started with 2 miles pretty much up the hill. So I knew there was no point trying to hit my target race pace for those first 2 miles. So yeah, that would be a little bit of advice from me, is to adjust your goal and race paces according to the conditions, to avoid having a really terrible race. And this is something that the elites will do. If the course is hilly, they'll adjust their pace accordingly. If it's a really hot day, say for your marathon, you're going to want to take some time off your goal pace, because yeah, if you go out at that pace, you may incur some troubles later on in the race, having gone off maybe a little bit too quickly. So tip number 4 is to find yourself a pack. When it comes to the start line, don't be afraid to speak to your fellow runners, ask them what sort of time they're aiming for on the day. So for example, if you're aiming to run a 40-minute 10k, ask people around you what sort of pace are you aiming for, so you know, are they sort of people you want to be running with, or maybe they're going to go off way too quick or too slow. Ideally, try and find yourself a pack to run with. So one of the first races I did this year was a half marathon, and on the start line I literally asked the guys, what's your target race pace and what are you aiming for on the day? And I literally found 3 guys that were sort of aiming for the same goal pace as me, which was great. So we all ran together, shared the work, and it just made the time fly by, really, especially for the first half of the race. We were all having a little bit of a chat with each other, not a full-on conversation, but we're just like saying, like, I don't know, egging each other on to maybe push the pace a little bit, calling out the splits, seeing if we're on pace. And you can literally share the work between you, so you don't have to be on the front in the wind all the time. And it works really well if you can find yourself a pack on the start line. Many Kenyan and Ethiopian runners talk about running in a group, and they talk about the benefits of almost sharing your energy and creating energy when running together. They believe that you're stronger when you run as a pack, as a team, than if you say run on your own. And there's definitely some truth in that. If you're training and you're racing on your own, it's a lot harder to sort of maintain the pace than say if you're running in a pack. So yeah, that's something you want to be doing on race days. Try and find a pack that's roughly running at the same pace that you were aiming to run at on the day. And on to my 5th and final tip for race day, and that is to recce the route before. So in your warm-up, I like to run the first few kilometers of the race, just to familiarize yourself with where you're going to be running on the first. When the gun goes, you know exactly where you're going to be going, just so you can have in your head, you can visualize running those first few kilometers. And I just find that helps when it comes to starting the race, calming the nerves. You know you're going to be going. So yeah, that's my 5th top tip, is to recce the course on your warm-up and hopefully familiarize yourself with the first few kilometers. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today's video. Hopefully you've got some tips to apply to your next race day. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more running related content. I'd be really interested to hear what are your top tips when it comes to race day. So if you can comment them down below, then everyone can sort of head down to the comment section and read even more tips to performing at your best on race day. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Aspire to run and run to inspire, and we'll see you again soon.